Hi everyone, I wanted to talk about my absolute favorite fountain pens today. And of course, I am talking about the Vanishing Point and the Decimo. I wanted to do a comparison video for you because there are a few differences in case you are deciding between the two. They are both from the wonderful Capless line from Pilot. They are my favorite fountain pen really because they have every single thing that I am looking for and wanting. Obviously, with Capless, I am always paranoid about my lid getting lost or flying off or something. I just love the feel of these pens. The length is perfect. I like the weight to my pens. Of course, Pilot being an Asian brand, the nibs run finer and I really like an extra fine nib. Just everything is absolutely perfect. If you haven't seen before how the Capless works, it kind of has this trapdoor mechanism up here that covers the tip of the pen. When you bring out the nib and write with it, it just kind of pushes it out of the way. And then when you retract your pen, it just springs back into its original position and covers that tip. Because most fountain pen inks are water-based and you obviously don't want your inks evaporating. So that's how they can get away with it. It's just brilliant. I believe that these are still marketed as Capless in the Eastern world, but in the Western world, they're now known as Vanishing Point and Decimo. The Pilot Pen Company was created in 1918 by a man named Namiki. If you're wondering where Pilot Namiki comes from, it's named after him. So they've been around for a really long time. They know exactly what they're doing. They're a fantastic pen company. In 1963, the Capless was introduced as the twist mechanism. In 1964, they came out with the push button or the clicker that you see here. In 1973, they did officially change the name of Capless to the Vanishing Point, but they still have the Capless tag on it. In 1994, the Namiki brand launched in the US. I couldn't find statistics in the rest of the world, but I'm assuming it's about that same time. In 1999, they revamped the design. They made it a lot more elegant, more durable. That's where the gold and the rhodium accents came in. In 2006, they launched the Fermo, which is the twisting barrel end. In 2014, they celebrated their 50th anniversary. So these have been available for 52 years, a long time, really fantastic product. Let me start here with the Vanishing Point. This is 13 millimeters in diameter. It's 140 millimeters in length, which is about 5.5 inches. It weighs 30 grams and the ink capacity is about 1 milliliter. Obviously, that's going to depend on if you have a cartridge or a converter, but just plan on around that. This comes in a lot of different barrel choices. This lacquer finish is available in all the different colors of the Decimo and more. It also has matte finishes, Radon, Carbonesque, and metallic coppers. It also has patterns on some of them, so way more choices with the Vanishing Point. The Decimo, I just say, is the slimmer, more ladylike version of the Vanishing Point. This is 11.71 millimeters, 139 millimeters in length. This weighs 20 grams instead of the 30 of the Vanishing Point and the same ink capacity. This is only available currently in 8 different colors: pearl white, burgundy, purple, light blue, which is this one, dark blue, champagne, which is a pretty pinkish kind of color, and dark gray. So all very pretty colors. And then the Fermo, in case you're interested, is only available that I could see in 3 different colors: black, green, and silver. It is 14 millimeters in diameter, 124 millimeters in length, 1.3 ounces or 36.85 grams. So that pen is a much wider, shorter, heavier pen than these other two. It's also way more expensive. That one has a list price of $325. Goulet does sell it for only $260. I mean, it's still expensive, but these retail for between $175 and $185. However, I got all of mine between around the range of $70 to $100 a piece from eBay, Amazon, and Goulet. I just looked at the best sale prices. These do have nib units that are available if you want to change out your nib. From extra fine to a stub is what is available. They do run about $80. That is really pricey in my opinion, and especially the prices that I was paid. I would probably lean towards just getting a brand new pen instead of doing that, but it is an option if you want that. When you buy the pen, it comes in a couple different boxes, at least for me. This one has kind of a squishy feel to it, but very nice nonetheless. And then the other box that I got for this one's a hardcover. So the more expensive the pen, the better the box and the packaging is going to be from what I have experienced. The converter that comes with it is usually the Con 50, which is the twist one. That's the one I prefer. But I have seen them that have the Con 20 available, which is the squeeze bladder one. I don't like that one at all, but it will work in these pens, and it also usually comes with one cartridge. I ended up buying both of these because I was looking for specific colors to match pens to my inks, and I use and love both of these equally. They do have different tips that are also available, and I have one of each to show you here. So this yellow one is a gold nib, and the blue one is the stainless nib. A lot of people really prefer the gold. I haven't found a difference as far as the performance, but I think that a lot of people, it just looks nicer, the aesthetics of the gold, it just looks fancier, but it really is a non-issue for me. The Vanishing Point, I would say that you would lean towards this one. If you have larger hands, especially I would say men in general would prefer the Vanishing Point over the Decimo. Also, if you have some wrist issues or arthritis, anything like that, I would recommend the Vanishing Point over the Decimo. If you think like when little children are learning how to write, we give them fat pencils and crayons because they don't have the manual dexterity. We do have that as adults, but then we have our other issues. So it just takes a little bit less effort and muscle strength to grasp and write with a fatter pen than it does with a slimmer pen, which equals less pain, less writer's fatigue, less arthritis in your joints and fingers, pain, that kind of thing. And it just feels a little bit more comfortable in your hand if you do have larger hands. I think it just all boils down, of course, to personal preference, but they're both great pens. Side by side, they both, for all intents and purposes, are the same pen with just a few differences. The Decimo is 1 millimeter smaller than the Vanishing Point. Obviously, the Vanishing Point does look like a fatter pen because it is. And then the metal rings on the Vanishing Point right here are also a lot fatter. This one does have, as you can see, 2 different silver rings as well. It's just not as wide as the Vanishing Point. In real life, you can feel the weight difference. I know you obviously you can't see that on camera. The Decimo, the tip actually is about 1 millimeter longer than the Vanishing Point. So interesting fact, but again, it doesn't really make a difference between those. Everything else is the same as far as the grip and the body length are all the same. The only difference is those metal rings in the middle make it look a little bit different. And then of course the clicker is also the same exact length as well. So this is the difference for the tip. Obviously with the Vanishing Point, you're going to get a wider tip on the end, as well as the clicker is going to be wider in diameter. But again, no difference as far as the performance is concerned. I am trying to use up all my different cartridges. I do prefer drawing up my inks with a converter, but I'm just trying to get rid of all my cartridges. So these both have cartridges in them currently. And if you haven't seen this, this is the pen unit, and it comes with this metal covering that you just can put it on anywhere. This is the only real trick I would say for these pens, and that is this right here, which has this little button knob kind of a thing. If you try and put it in and don't have that lined up, as you can see, it's not going to fit. It's not going to work. There's only one way you can get this, and it has to go in right with this opening, with this hole right here, and then that's how it's set up and works. The pen clip, a lot of people have talked about how this kind of gets in their way or it bothers them because this pen is really only designed to be used for one way. Obviously they have to have the pen clip down here because when you're storing it, you want to store it with this way. And you have your clicker down here like a regular ballpoint pen. I haven't found that that is an issue for me at all, and I'm going to try and show you. But I have a standard 3-point grip, and as you can see, I already have space between my fingers, and that's just automatic with any pen that I use. A lot of people use the 4-finger grip like this, and as you can see, there's usually less space or even touching, so I think that may be what they're talking about if they are having issues. And then also if you're a lefty, obviously lefties are trying to hold their pen a certain way so they can see as they're writing. So that's probably the only issues really that you're going to have with this pen clip, other than that's just not a normal design. It's just unique to the Capless right here. The pen clips between the two, the Vanishing Point has a little bit more curve to it and a little bit more space in between than the Decimo. They both work perfectly fine. Obviously, I'm going to pick the Vanishing Point just because I like to put my pen clip and hang my pen on my papers or my rings of my planners, journals, and notebooks. But they're both perfectly fine. Just if I have to choose, I'd pick the Vanishing Point one. But they're both metal. They're both very strong. You're not going to have any problems, but not too strong where it's going to damage your paper, put dents in your paper, or rip it or anything like that. It's just perfect. Okay, the other thing about writing with these is because you can only write with one position, another thing that you might have to get used to is a lot of times with pencils, especially if you know what I'm talking about, you kind of rotate your pencil. A lot of people rotate their pens too as they're writing, and that's just, I think, kind of out of habit. You can only really use this one way. There's only one right way, and that's this way. So obviously you can, here's the upside down version. Here's the sideways, how that looks. So that's another thing. I'm going to show you some samples, and I'm not good on camera, so I already did these. Let's hopefully that this will focus. But as you can see, there's a little bit of difference between the Decimo and the Vanishing Point. Obviously the fine point is going to just be a little bit darker and a little bit fatter than the extra fine. I know it's hard to tell on camera, but I showed you a sample of the popular Pilot G2 07. So the fine point is finer than the 07. If I have to guess, I would say the extra fine is about a 0.38 and the fine is maybe a 0.5. But like I said, with the Pilot being an Asian brand, they do run a little bit smaller. And then I wanted to show you this too as well. You can, a lot of times with fountain pens, turn them upside down and write with them. However, this is the sample of how these work. And hopefully it will focus again. But the top one is how it writes normally. The middle one is how it's writing upside down. And then the bottom one is how it's sideways. Sorry, that didn't focus very well, but this is what I'm talking about. So this is right side up, this is upside down, and then this is writing sideways. So really you do have to write with these right side up. Anyway, I hope that has been helpful if you are looking into these pens. They are my favorite pen. Like I said, they have all of my favorite features. It's the perfect size for me. Everything is absolutely perfect. It's just not going to change. The end. So I'll end there. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.